So I'm wearing my Ming the Merciless collar. Because what I'm going to say is going to sound harsh and merciless. But it's like tough love, right? Tough love. So here's your silver fix before I start. I've got behind the door of mystery, I've got for you, I've got one of these sterling items that has the threads. See, there's threads in here. You screw in things like get a glass candy dish, candlestick holder, accessorize. It's kind of like Legos or something. Well, not really Legos, but yeah. On the bottom here, you know, look, you can see the time click 35, 36, and it's got a sticker and it's got a engraving in the back, or whatever you want to call it. Special non-break construction, sterling silver, Frank M. Whiting and Company. Pretty cool. And here is your silver fix. So now you can get stuff like this at auctions and estate sales and whatnot. And one thing you quickly realize if you go to a live auction is that everybody else in the audience is your rival. They are your rivals. What they're doing is they're bidding higher the stuff you want. The stuff you want, they're bidding higher. You don't like that. Or they might even bid so high you don't want to pay that money for it, right? So they're your rivals. And the people who are selling are rivals, but in a different way. They have what you want, but they want to charge you more money than you want to pay, right? You want to pay less. So you've got two sets of rivals, right? You got two rivals in this auction. And actually, I think that most humans, we have an innate understanding of trade and barter and markets because that's what we've done since we've been humans. Humans trade things. That's what we do. And I think that when it comes to face-to-face interaction, we are all kind of naturals at trading and understanding these concepts. But the problem arises is that when you add abstract layers, when it comes to stuff like this, right, we have these abstract layers. You know, you go to Kitco to see the price. You're not actually seeing face-to-face your people you're competing with. Because you're competing with those who also want to buy alongside with you, and you're competing with those who want to sell to you. But we don't really see that. We have these abstract layers. And I think that's how the misinformation and the wrong worldviews get spread, because humans, we're not really designed at the start to be able to interact on these abstract layers. So that's where the fooling happens. They fool you by having all these abstract layers and then describing them wrongly to you. And this is when I say, I mean, you don't know silver. Because when I get new comments, people who just come to my channel, most of the comments have very strong opinions. They're telling me like I'm wrong, yet they have not demonstrated they know what they're talking about. Yet they think they're right. Now, you might think this is frustrating, but just remember an auction. When you're sitting in that auction, right, if everybody around you doesn't know what they're talking about, that is great for you, because it means you get great deals, and when you're selling, you get more than you should get often, right? So a misinformed marketplace is the best thing a shrewd trader could ask for, because it's so easy to trade against morons. So I apologize for trying to sound like, not really morons, but the uninformed, right? So I know some people are frustrated because there's a lot of misinformation and myths going in silver, right? And they're trying to correct that. But what's happening is these other channels that either they don't know what they're talking about or they don't care. They are doing you a big favor because they are creating uninformed competitors, right? If you're playing poker, right? Do you want to play poker against people who have no idea what they're doing? The ideal poker opponents are people who think that they're pros but are actually really bad at the game. That's your ideal competition. And that's what's happening when on a lot of these blogs and channels, we're having that mentality being sown and grown and flourished, and that's helping out people who want to trade. So now this sounds harsh, because I mean, I'm not saying you have to, it has to be merciless, but what I'm saying is that, I get these comments, their tone is so strong. Like, they're experts. They saw a few YouTube videos and they read a blog, and now they're experts in everything money and finance and banking. They're experts on the monetary system, right? I have to say that I'm not an expert, and neither is anybody else making these channels. But you don't have to be an expert. When you go to an auction, you can get some good stuff without being the master of sterling, right? I'm not the best sterling guy, but I got some really good deals, because you have to realize, right? You have to realize that you're not a master. You have to realize that there are stories being told. Now, when you're at an auction, right, and you're face to face, it's really hard to create like a story, a narrative, because you're seeing it with your own eyes. You're touching the stuff, right? When you add these abstract layers, it's really easy to create a story and a narrative. For example, people make these pie-in-the-sky, silver-to-the-moon predictions. And when it doesn't turn out, it's all banksters and manipulation. They create these stories, right? Well, is there manipulation? Are there banksters? Well, there could be. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. The point of the matter is, when you're in an auction, right, the story and narrative are a back seat to what price you're going to pay and what price you're going to get. Keep in mind that the narrative and the stories are fairy tales, right? Maybe they're true. That's the background. Don't get your ego wrapped up. People are arguing about the story. What's the story? They get all mad, leave strong emotional comments. Well, the story's interesting, but really, what's the reality? Like, what's happening? So, while people might get frustrated, like, I'll get these comments, people think they're masters, they're leaving comments, oh, you're wrong, I know exactly how it is. Well, they don't, because the way they're talking, the stuff they say, I could do many videos on people saying the stuff they're wrong, but that doesn't matter anymore, because, you know, the Ming the Merciless mentality is starting to come out. I'm seeing the sharks start to appear. More sharks are appearing in these channels. They want to eat the little feeder fish. They want these silver channels to create more feeder fish for them. So my one final analogy is when it comes to chess, right? Chess is a complicated game. And in the general population doesn't really know how to play chess. You have these living room champions, people who beat their family and friends, who've never lost a game. Because they've never lost a game, they think they are pros. But when they play a real tournament player, they never win. But the first 2 times they lose, they create a story, right? The reason why they lost was they had an excuse. Because it never occurs to them that they're not an expert because they win so much. But if they get thrashed long enough, they come to a realization, or they go to a tournament and they are surrounded by experts, they see it. But what happens is, like, in real life, I come across people all the time, like at work, who, oh, I'm so great at chess, I play him and I beat him. And they're like, oh, well, it was close, let me play again. And like maybe after a while, they start realizing, hey, I'm outclassed. But I can even tell them what they're doing wrong, and they won't even believe me because they have this reinforced. They say, I've been playing for 20 years. They have 20 years of opinion enforced. What happens is they have 1 year of experience 20 times over. In the first year, they learn how to beat the family and friends, and they stagnate there because there's no new input, or what they're doing works against the family and friends. So when they play a tournament player, after a while, they start realizing, hey, it's time to reassess my game. Now, the question is, how long does it take for someone to realize that? And that's a real key of what kind of market participant they are. Someone who doesn't want to learn is your ideal competitor, because you will take them to the cleaners every time. Okay, my Ming the Merciless shtick is done, so thanks for watching.